You're tuned into the Believe in Bengals show with Solomon Wilcots and Adam Pac-Man Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Bengal podcast delivered by 828 Logistics. I'm Solomon Wilcots, and the gentleman that we have joining us here today is a very good friend. And of course, you know him better as the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy, who's also a former Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to get to that in a minute. But EB, how you doing, my man?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. I'll tell you what, Solly, it's good to have this opportunity to talk to you. And good to have an opportunity to talk to some former Bengals. I will say this. That was a hard-fought game this past weekend.
Hey, man, look, you guys get the win. It was a rematch from last year's AFC title game. You guys get the win over the Bengals 23-20. I got to tell you, you broke a lot of hearts here in the Queen City. So just kind of tell us, what was the focus going into this game, a team that you guys had lost 3 in a row to? So I know you were really dialed in. What was the focus leading into the AFC title game?
The focus was this. We knew it was going to be a game of chess. Obviously, they've done a hell of a job offensively attacking our defense, and vice versa. We've done a heck of a job of attacking their defense. The biggest thing was no turnovers. We wanted to go into the game with 0 turnovers. And then on top of that, just understanding that we have to win the situational matchups. And so I thought we did a great job of that, but obviously we had a turnover, created an additional drive for their offense. Mm-hmm. But when it was all said and done with, Solly, the biggest focus was just straining to finish. Yes. Because this game was going to come down to a one-possession game or one-score type scenario. And I just harped to our guys. I told our guys, listen, every time we played these guys, it's come down to the end. All right. At some point, somebody's going to have to strain and make a play. And Pat, he goes out with an injury briefly the previous week, and he comes back in this game. He makes a hell of a play with his feet, scrambles with his legs, and makes a play. How ironic is that? Especially coming off the injury that he had.
I don't like when people try to put me in a position to try to tell them who's the best quarterback, Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? These two guys are so young to be playing the game at the level that they're playing it at is out of this world. The complicated things that go into playing that position. I don't want to have to choose between the two. I know Pat's your guy and Burrow's here in Cincinnati, but I love watching both of them go at it. Help us to understand, for someone who coaches that position and calling plays on Sunday, what these two quarterbacks have to do to be able to help their team to achieve victory.
Well, first of all, it's all about their playmaking ability. Pat always does a great job of understanding that, hey, he got to put us in the best position, but on top of that, just execute the offense. And when it's time to make a play, be creative, but also understanding we have to take care of the football. So the thing I love about Pat, and I always give this analogy because guys always ask, what is it like, being in that room with him, coaching him?
Yeah.
I said, I always tell guys this. Pat is one of those guys that could have played ball with us because he has that temperament. He doesn't care about numbers, as dynamic of a football player he is, and, all the stats that he's had and amazed over the years.
Yeah.
The thing is that he just loves to win. And he's going to do whatever it takes to win. He's a sun up to sundown type of guy. And you just love all those attributes he brings to the game. Now, the kid, Joe Burrow, Joe is special. Obviously, I'm originally from New Orleans. And don't get me wrong, I did the majority of my growing up in the L.A. area. But I've always been an LSU fan. So just watching that kid at LSU and what he accomplished, and then just the battles that we've had for the past 4 consecutive games, you can't help but be amazed at what that kid has done. He's an outstanding quarterback. And I'm going to tell you, we got 2 young guns. It's going to be a battle from
every year, right?
Career. Yes, exactly.
That's why I said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Forget about the kid in Buffalo either.
That's right. Oh, he's special. He's special. And I tell everyone, just enjoy what, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are giving us, because I think by the time their careers are over, I think they make one another better because they're both diehard competitors, and they're going to give us some of the best football that I think our league has ever seen. I want to go back and tell our viewers a story, because I remember you and I, we were at the Super Bowl. We were on Radio Row. I think it was following the 2017 season going into 2018. You guys had kind of made that the decision that offseason that Patrick was going to be the guy going into the next season in 2018. And I remember you telling me about this young man, but more importantly, you talked about his father, about Pat Mahomes Sr., what kind of guy he is. And I know what kind of coach you are. And I said, can he take it, EB? And you said, oh, I know he can because I know his father. I know who raised him. So tell us a little bit about Pat Mahomes Sr. and how that's played a role in the player that Pat Jr. has become.
So Pat Mahomes Sr., obviously he was a baseball player during the same time we were playing in the league, actually. And just watching him and knowing him and having that opportunity to really sit down and meet him and talk with him. First thing he said is, listen, EB, if you ever have a problem with my son, I'm giving you the right, you know.
to go there.
I said, well, all right. And from that point on, you just knew the type of kid he was. And Pat's a kid that can take tough coaching. He wants to be coached. He wants you to be very critical of the things that he needs to improve upon. But that's what makes it fun, because you don't necessarily have to clean up anything he's doing because he auto-corrects himself. Yeah. And so the thing I love about him, he loves to be coached. On top of that, he's going to do everything under the sun to try and keep you off of his back.
Yeah.
And that's what he's a competitive kid. You just love his work ethic. And he's just one of those human beings that I wish everybody can have an opportunity just to be around and see how he operates on a day-to-day basis.
He is a treat, there's no doubt. And now you're going to the third Super Bowl in 5 years, man. Is this getting old for you?
Man, it's just beginning to get a little bit more fun.
I bet it is. Look, I want to go back to that championship game. We were talking about Patrick Mahomes, the kind of special player he is at quarterback. How is it that you guys can lose, three of your top wide receivers in this game? You guys got 7 rookies who played in the AFC title game. And I'm not just saying played a little bit here. They were starting. They played in significant roles in the secondary. George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie. You had 7th rounders, right, in the backfield in your secondary and in Isaiah Pacheco. How do you have so many rookies playing in that big of a game where they are able to answer the call?
First of all, let me just go from the beginning. It starts with our personnel department. It starts with Brett Veach. I mean, Veach has done a hell of a job of bringing in some great players. Obviously, our head coach, Coach Andy Reid, has done a great job of putting together a collective staff of teachers who don't mind teaching and developing young players, because if you don't develop them, it's going to cost you at some point in time. So you might as well take advantage and teach these young men how to operate in those high pressure moments. And I'll keep attributing our coaching staff again. Our guys did a heck of a job because we're not afraid of playing our young guys.
Yeah.
Our young guys, we know that at some point in time, those guys are going to have to make a play or two to help us to get to accomplish the goal. And I thought those guys did a heck of a job of just going out there and playing fearless. Yeah. We got a young runner in Isaiah Pacheco, who's a 7th rounder, but he plays with absolutely no fear because we're not afraid of our guys going out there and making mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay. We know that mistakes will happen. We don't want them repeating mistakes, but we want them to learn and build from that. And so that's how we operate as a foundation, as a coaching staff. And so we expect those guys to be at their best when their best is needed. And I thought they did a hell of a job, especially this past weekend in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, you had Sky Moore gets a 29-yard punt return. He found a way to chip in and make a few plays. 3 rookies playing in the secondary against guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Man, that was putting in work. It was really interesting to see. Now, I'm sitting there rooting for, my Bengals. And then after the game was over, I had to kind of shake it off a little bit. And I said, all right, now, EB, y'all got to go win this thing. So let's talk about this Philadelphia Eagles team that you're going to face. Man, this is a defense. They're sitting there with, about 78 sacks going into the Super Bowl? We hadn't seen a team do this since the 85 Chicago Bears. So tell me, what are you facing as you turn on the tape and start to diagnose what they're doing defensively?
It's hard looking past the front to even get back to the secondary.
That's right.
Just because of what you just said.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, Sally, and the biggest challenge, we got to keep our quarterback upright. We got to keep him. Those guys do a hell of a job. And I mean, they're too deep and they're rolling guys. Yeah. When you see guys like Ndamukong Suh and Robert Quinn as backups in the nickel package, it's like, wait a minute. What the hell is going on?
They got starters subbing for starters. Like, what? This is just crazy. So, and even in that secondary, I've always been a big fan of Darius Slay, James Bradbury, man. I don't know how the Giants even let him get out of there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who you well know. Man, these guys are as good on the back end as they are on the front end.
They're solid defense overall from top to bottom. I mean, these guys are doing a hell of a job. You just don't make it to the Super Bowl without them playing complementary ball together. And so, yes, we do have a challenge, and we got to face that challenge. But we also know if we're giving our guy a chance to stand upright, we will have some success. Now, we obviously got to be able to run it. But more importantly, we just got to make sure that we understand this game is going to come down to a number of maybe 1, 2, or 3 plays, okay? So our focus is making sure that our guys understand the importance of maximizing every opportunity that is presented to them and just living in that moment. Yeah. You got to be able to play through the highs and you got to be able to play through the lows and make sure you remain poised under pressure by also playing to the echo of the whistle. And at the end of the game, we got to find a way to strain the finish. That's going to be the difference.
EB, look, man, you played 9 years in the NFL. You stopped through Cincinnati where you spent 4 seasons. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about your last season where you spent with the Philadelphia Eagles. You were in this room where all these guys that end up playing for Andy end up becoming coaches in this league. And all of you guys are doing very well. So that tells me something about Andy, that he looks out for his guys. But you guys seem to learn a lot of football from him. So what's the biggest takeaway from you playing for Andy, coaching under Andy to help you to become the coach that you currently are?
First of all, he's consistent. The person has never changed, okay? Yeah. He is the same coach in 1999. And he's the same coach in 2022, 2023. Yeah. And so that's what makes him who he is. But on top of that, he's a teacher, okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll never forget how those install meetings used to go when we would sit in those meetings and he would go through and specifically talk about the details and the fundamentals just by position on what needed to be done. And so you absorbed all that information and you ended up applying it on game day. And so those are the things and the attributes that I've taken from him. But on top of that, he's just one of those coaches that expect you to be at your best when your best is needed. Yeah. And so that's what makes Coach Reid special. And he's done it for a number of years and have had a great deal of success, not only with the players, but I mean, you think about his coaching tree and all the coaches that are spread throughout the league that have had some head coaching success and as well as positional coaching. So it's a great experience. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. Obviously, we got another challenge this week. We got to go back and we got to go back in time and play against the Philadelphia Eagles, which I know it's probably going to be somewhat of an emotional deal for Coach because
that's right.
We got his beginning. But you know what they say, hey, in that game, we got to let it all hang loose and we got to find a way to drag ourselves across the finish line and find a way to win this one for the big fella.
That's right. And for our viewers, Andy Reid spent 14 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, won over 100 games as the head coach there before coming over to the Kansas City Chiefs. You've been the offensive coordinator for 5 years. Each of the 5 years, you've gone to the conference championship game. 3rd time now going to a Super Bowl. I can't remember an offensive coordinator for any team to have this run of success during your early days of being able to call plays on the sideline. I want to talk about just the creativity and the fun that you and Coach Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you guys seem to, every single game, there's something in the game plan that has to get the players' attention, that's so creative that keeps the defense on their toes. Just kind of talk about that thought process where you guys are just seemingly always willing to have fun, creating these wonderful plays that the fans really enjoy.
Coach is real huge about our players, letting our players' personalities show. Yeah. And so the thing that we want them to do, we want them to have fun, because do not get me wrong, we work hard and we want these guys to go out there and enjoy the game. But there are some opportunities that come out throughout the course of the week, and we just allow these guys to brew them up. We dial them up, draw up all these different deals, and sometimes the players come with some of these ideas as well, and they make it happen. And the thing that I love about it, Solly, is this, okay? When they're having fun, all right, they're going to find a way to make the play work.
That's right.
Because they're going to take ownership in it.
There you go.
And so that's the beauty of it, and that's the fun in it. And we're not allowed to, we're not, we don't get all uptight about these guys wanting to do it. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun, because we ask of them a lot. So why not allow them to have an opportunity to go out there and just do something creative and have some fun with it?
Excellent teaching, by the way, because you know how players are. You put their name on it, you create their personality and have them to have some imprint on it. Oh, they're going to find a way to make it work. They're going to make it work, because they know they'll never get one dialed up for them again, ever.
Exactly.
Hey, I want to talk to you about your 4 years here. What do you remember during your 4 years playing for the Bengals? I know you got to know Mike Brown very well, Katie and Troy. You got to know the family very well. And that was a unique time, because Boomer Esiason had come back for a second stint with the Bengals. What do you remember about your 4 years here with the Bengals?
You know what? Believe it or not, and I know it was a tough time to do it for us, but I had a great deal of fun. Yeah. So first of all, I had an opportunity to play with Darnay Scott and Carl Pickens. Yeah. I had Kajana Carter, Garrison Hurst.
That's right.
On top of that, Corey Dillon.
Oh, yeah.
All right. It was a lot of fun. Jeff Blake, Boomer Esiason, and I'm not even talking about the guys on defense, the John Copelands, the big daddies of the world.
That's right.
Dan Wilkinson. Ben 5-0.
That's right. A lot of names, man.
Yeah. So it was a lot of relationships that were established during that particular time. I had an opportunity to grow as a person, but also grow as a professional. Mm-hmm. And so every year when I go to the combine, I always tell Mike Brown and Katie and Paul, hey, thank you for the opportunity, because I had a great time my 4 years there, and they took care of the Bieniemys. Yeah. And they gave me an opportunity to come back, but I ended up leaving. But I will say this, I am grateful for the opportunity in those 4 years that I had spent in Cincinnati. Now, I got to add this too. Mike Hinton, the nickelback, number 21. I told him, I said, man, you're representing. You're wearing that 21 jersey pretty well.
That's right. That's right.
You're representing the height and size. So I said, this means something to me.
Hey, man, he be bringing it, man. We love that guy. We love him.
Hell of a player.
I tell the story. I remember you. And look, I grew up in Los Angeles. You went to high school there. I know you were born and raised in New Orleans. Then your family moved to LA, where you went to Bishop Amat High School. Everybody wanted you. We wanted you to come to Boulder. And, we finally got you. And I remember telling you, I said, hey, man, you come here, you're going to be the face of the program. And I felt that because you had this tremendous leadership about you. And look, you in that class that came in 87, by the time you were done in your senior year, you end up as the third finalist for a Heisman Trophy, a consensus All-American, a conference player of the year, decorated, and you brought home a national championship. So first of all, let's just go let them know about that. You brought home that national championship. But I tell everybody, it started with Eric Bieniemy, because you were just this fiery dude that had this sense of leadership about you that everyone lined up and followed. Coach Mack used to say, the littlest guy is the toughest guy. And he was like, and it's number one. He was talking about you. So just kind of helped me to understand, man, where did that energy come from? Where did that fire come from? And where does that leadership style that you bring to your coaching, where does it come from?
I don't know. I guess I just inherited as a young man, and growing up, and always being the guy that was told you're too small to do anything and everything. And so I took it personal.
Yeah.
And I always accepted the challenge because I always wanted to prove others wrong. And if I was going to work, I felt that if we're going to do this, we all have to work just as hard to accomplish any goals that we want to accomplish. So I've been blessed and fortunate to have a mother that didn't take anything. And I mean, she told me, hey, if you want anything in life, you got to work hard for it. And sometimes you have to punch that clock for extra hours in order to become who you want to become. And so I've always taken on that mindset of just finding ways to be resilient and always finding ways to create a culture of second effort. And so if you can be resilient and you learn to work with some second effort, you can accomplish any goal that you want to accomplish. Now, I got to add this too, Solly. Going into that year, when we went in, I mean, you had the Alfred Williams of the world, the Canavis McGee's of the world, both the College Hall of Fame players, the Michael Pritchards of the world, the Joe Stees, the George Hemingways. That was just the beginning. I mean, Jay Lewinberg, Greg Beekert. We had a number of players who came in during that time and established a foundation because you guys had said it. We just carried the torch. And obviously we were blessed and fortunate to play for 2 national championships back to back. And we ended up winning it. And it ain't the same, but I will say this, those times and those memories, I mean, there was a lot of great times that we spent together, but just on top of that, just the people, it's all about the relationship building.
That's right.
People that you work with, and just, it's more stories that are told than just those national championship stories. But it was a great time in history.
Yeah, man. Look, it took a lot of work in getting it to that level. You know that. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We were all part of I thought what was a very special time. And I told Coach Prime, I said, look, we did it once. We built it from the ground up, and you can do it again. And he's excited about that challenge. Now, there's free agency in college football now. You can go all in, and you don't have to wait all those years, right, to get it turned around. So just kind of give me your thoughts on Coach Prime. He's wearing the black and gold now. He's pulling the wagon for the Buffs. So your thoughts on the expectations of what we can accomplish with him as our head coach.
Well, here's the thing. I'm fired up and excited for him. I'm fired up and excited for his staff and for those players. Now, I don't want to blow the expectations out of the wall. I mean, out of the walls, because I know, when you're building something, it takes time.
It does. So that's right.
One thing I am going to preach to our fans and to our alums is just be patient. Allow him to establish it the way he wants. And the rest will take care of itself, because obviously he's proven that. He proved it down at Jackson State. Now he has more amenities and more avenues to reach out to different kids and get them to come up and play in Boulder. And so I'm fired up. I'm excited, but also too, my expectations are not above
the reality of the situation.
I just want them to make the necessary improvement, because I know in time, if we give him the amount of time, it will happen. It's going to happen, but it's going to be special because he's bringing a different energy in that in the entire Boulder community.
See, it reminds me of the energy you brought when number one stepped out on the field, man. It was different. And everybody knew they had to bring it, or EB was going to let them know. There ain't no doubt about it. Still the same way, too. I watch you, man. You're still coaching the same way, still got that same energy. I know your mom is proud of you. I know I'm proud of you. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the Believe in Bengal podcast. I'm going to see you in Glendale, Arizona. I'll be there, and we'll get some time together to get with the fellas, okay?
Well, thank you, Sally. I appreciate this opportunity, and it's always good to talk to my mentor and my former Buff. And I will say this, it's always great having this opportunity, and you do an outstanding job, bro. And I have to say this in front of everyone, I always listen to your show every single morning.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I make sure that I keep it real, because I know you'll let me know if I stray out of bounds on something. So you are the best, man. I greatly appreciate you. And we will see you soon. Everyone, thank you for joining us right here on the Believe in Bengal podcast, delivered by 828 Logistics on Valley Sports Ohio. We'll see you next time.